Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. We're continuing in Mishnah Berurah, Daf Hashavua. We are learning Siman Nun Hey, Dinei Kaddish. Dinei Kaddish. The Mechaber says, Oimrim Kaddish. We say Kaddish. This is talking about Kaddish after Yishtabach, but this is the opportunity to talk about Dinei Kaddish. So it's interesting, why did the Mechaber wait till now to talk about Dinei Kaddish? Is this the first Kaddish in davening? What about Kaddish by Psukei de Zimra, let's say by Mizmar Shir? That's not really Meikar HaTfilah. Rav Henkin writes that Kaddish was basically, it's a scam to get people to cut Avelim to get to shul early. So we tell, come on, you're going to miss a Kaddish. But it's not Meikar Tzuras HaTfilah. But the Kaddish by Yishtabach is Meikar Tzuras HaTfilah. Says the Mechaber, Oimrim Kaddish, ve'ein oimrim yisabach me'asar zacharim. You don't say with less than 10 males, b'nei chayrin, who are free, gedolim, who are of age, of chayvim mitzvos, she'aviu shtei saros, that they've brought 2 hairs, v'adin lekedusha, u'barchu, she'ein ne'amarim b'pachas me'asar. Likewise, kedusha and barchu, that they're not said with less than 10 people. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Oimrim, Kasher toiv l'mayit bevrachos, kach toiv l'mayit bekaddishim. Just like it is good to minimize the blessings you make, you shouldn't make bracha she'ena tzricha, so it's also good to be mamayit bekaddishim. Just like it's good to be mamayit bebrachos, it's good to be mayit bekaddishim. That's the opening Mishnah Berurah in Siman Nun Hey. Now, why is it good to be mamayit bekaddishim? The Pa'as, just Pa'as Sadcha, the Dirshu quotes, it's a svara. It is not Yiras Hashem to constantly be approaching Him. It's not, it shows a certain over comfortability. Same way, I don't like people that come to shul, they come in with their coffee. Okay, it's one thing, I don't know, you need a little before davening. So drink it in the back. To come in holding, but they come in with like the 64-ounce cup, like you're walking into 7-Eleven or something. It's not your shamayim. You're coming to so that for sure we understand. But even excessive kadeshim, that is not proper. So therefore, Rav Moshe says, let's say somebody's in Avel, and they already daven Shachris, and now they come to a bris, or they come they're coming to learn in the shul. Don't say Kaddish. No, what do you mean? It's another opportunity to say Kaddish. No, you're not supposed to. You shouldn't say Kaddish. You already say Kaddish by your minyan. Why are you saying it another minyan? Unless the people don't know you already daven, and they know you're an Avel and there's Maris Ha'ayin. But if you don't think you're doing the nifter a favor, I'm gonna go to another minyan and say Kaddish. Not the right thing to do, says Rav Moshe. Okay. The Mishnah Berurah continues, V'ayim ba'achroinim shekaru tigar al zeh. Look in the achroinim, who they complain about this. Shene'asafim asara b'nei adam, that people gather 10 people. Oimrim kama kadeshim al psukei Torah oy Mishnah oy Gemara. Not the right thing to do. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to have, like after davening, we'll learn a Mishnah, Kaddish. We'll say a Memra, Kaddish. We'll say a Dvar Torah, another Kaddish. It is Shaloi Kahalacha, plain and simple. And not only is it Shaloi Kahalacha, it's very wrong. The Achroinim complain about it. Asar Yehudim Layazim. If you have 10 Jews who don't speak Lashon HaKodesh, in mi sheyadeh b'Lashon HaKodesh, lahoitzi yisam yidei chayva. You don't have a guy who could daven Hebrew. Yuchal lechem lio shliach tzibur v'loimer kaddish u'kedusha b'lashon laz. Then one of them could be a shliach tzibur and say kaddish and kedusha in English or in any language. The Chassam Sofer writes in a tshuva that to daven in a different language is only permitted occasionally, not the oifen kavua. Now he's not talking about transliterated Yis Gadel v'Yis Kaddish Shmei Rabbah. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about may his great name be magnified and sanctified in the world that He created as He willed, meaning, in other words, to say in a different language, not to transliterate. It's permitted. You have 10 guys, they don't speak Hebrew. They could say Kaddish, whatever language they want. And the Sam Sofer says this is Akroi. Kaddish. Perish Acher Psuke de Zimra. We're talking about after Psuke de Zimra, we need 10 people. Now, okay, you need 10 people. Now, how do you count them? Pri Chadar says you don't count them by the head. The Kitzur says the minog is you say Hoshia Samecha, which has 10 words. The Kaf HaChaim says. Now, I don't know why they're bringing that over here, because the last thing you could do at this point is start saying Hoshia Es Amecha. I guess according to the Tzad that you're allowed to speak for Tzarchei Tzibur, and the guy doesn't know how to count without, what he learned in first grade from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. But you're not allowed to say Hoshia Samecha at this point. That's not permitted. But it's talking about in general. Anyway, the Kaf HaChaim says that you do it b'machshava. The issur of counting is when you say the numbers. It's not when you count in your mind. There's no problem of counting in your mind. Okay. Okay, let's see. If he says you need a minyan for Kaddish, do you need a minyan for Yotzar Varei Choshech? He says, why do I need a minyan? What do you mean? You're saying Kaddish, Kaddish, Kaddish. So perhaps you need a minyan to say Berchas Kriya Shema even. Now, unless, the Mishnah Berurah says, unless you lane it, so then you're Kakairei B'Torah. Either way, Shekol Davar Shekudusha going Kaddish, Kedusha, Baruch Hu, Kriyas HaTorah, Nesiyas Kapayim, Ein Omer Pachas Me'asara. Any Davar Shekudusha you can't say with less than 10 people. Shenemar V'Nikdashti B'Soich B'nei Yisrael. V'Yalfinam B'Gzeira Shava Toich Toich Mimeraglim. We learn out Gzeira Shava Toich Toich from the Meraglim. D'chsiv Ad Mosai Lo Eda Hara Hazois. It says about the Meraglim, they're an Eda, and there were 12 of them. Yatsu Yeshua Kalev. Take out Yeshua and Kalev. Nishar Asara. Yeah, you're left with 10. Ukruyim Eda, they're called an Eda. V'chol HaKadeshim Shavin Lozeh. All Kaddishim are equal in this regard. Meaning you need a minyan for all Kaddishim. Afil Kashaban Shachar Limad. Kasav Taz. The Be'ez Amir Psuke Zimra Ein Tzar Chasara. You don't need a minyan from Psuke Zimra to be able to say Kaddish. Namely, the Afil Maru B'Yechidos. Even if you said Psuke Zimra Yechidos Kol Sheish Asar B'Shas Amir Kaddish Dai B'Kach. As long as you have 10 people at the time of Kaddish, it's enough. V'cheinim hischilu l'spalel arvis b'yechidos. Likewise, let's say you start to daven Marav b'yechidos. You only had 4 guys show up. Ubo asor le'samir Kaddish. And then, by the time Kaddish comes, 10 people show up. Yachal omer Kaddish. Now this is not like we said yesterday, or 2 days ago. For example, if you look in the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Nun Daled, Siv Katan Tes, he brought from the Magen Avram a few interesting things. First of all, he brought from the Magen Avram that you need to learn Agadata, and then you could say Kaddish to Rabbanan, because Ikar Kaddish is on Divrei Agada. And then the Mishnah Berurah concluded you don't say Kaddish unless there are 10 people in the shul at the time of the saying of the Psukim. You don't actually need 10 people learning the Psukim, but you need 2 or 3, you need 10 people present. So here, the Mishnah Berurah seems to be saying not like that. Here the Mishnah Berurah seems to be saying, if you didn't have a minyan, and all of a sudden they show up, you could say Kaddish. He says, V'chein b'chil l'spal arvas b'yechidos b'arasol le'esamir Kaddish, yachol le'mer Kaddish, v'chein b'chol limud. Oy ba'amiras olenu, amiras ashrei shekoydem mincha. Oy ba'amiras tehillim ba'bokim haya b'li minyan v'nez dam teg minyan sheish lomer Kaddish. That's not like the Mishnah Berurah said in Siman Nun Daled. U'magin Avram b'Siman Samach Tes Reish Lam Dal loy kasav kain. He says that's not so. I guess that's the Magin Avram that the Mishnah Berurah quoted in the previous Siman, which is interesting that there he seemed to conclude like the Magin Avram, that you need 10 people at the time of the learning, and here he seems to be okay without it. Let's see, what's the footnote here is going on, number 7. So in the Dirshu, in the back, they bring that the Magen Avram holds you need 10 people at the time of Amir's Psukim. He quotes the Mishnah Berurah earlier that even these Shitas, you don't need 10 people saying the Psukim. It's interesting, the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Tav Kuf Pei Aleph, Sivkat and Daled, regarding Slicha, he springs from the Eliyah Rabbah, that if you don't have 10 people at Tam Amiras Ashrei, you should say 3 psukim when a minyan comes. Which is interesting that later on the Mishnah Berurah also concludes like the Magen Avram, that you can't just say a Kaddish, but you need to actually say the psukim. Okay. V'chein mehagrabis in Reish Lamdan muchach k'Magen Avram. Akin eskimu achronim. I guess this is what we're saying. The achronim conclude the hanachon sheyomru acher kach mizmar. You should say a mizmar. The Dirshu says mizmar means not just like 3 random psukim. Oy shloisha psukim. The Dirshu says that's from 1 parak. He quotes the Shari Ephraim, V'yomru Kaddish. V'ayim b'pri magadim Mishnah Zava, ois gimel d'mecham minei del inyam psuk de zimra, u'linyam tuas arvis, gam ha-Magen Avram, moide lahataz. Wow. The Pri Megadim says that the Magen Avram only said his din legabe, let's say Ashrei before Mincha, or Aleinu, or some other part of the davening. But when it comes to Psukei de Zimra or Mariv, then even if the minyan is not present at the time of the Amiras Psukim, you could say Kaddish. So it's interesting. By the way, the Dirshu says that earlier on in Siman Nun Gimel, the Mishnah Berurah said not like that. He concluded like the Dar Chachayim, that if you don't have 10 people at the time of Sukkah de Zimra or Yishtabach, you should not say Kaddish. So the Mishnah Berurah did not say this earlier in Siman Nun Gimel. I don't remember where in Siman Nun Gimel. Does he mean Siman Nun Daled? Probably is a Tas Sefer. Probably Siman Nun Gimel Sivkat Dan Tes. It's got to be a mistake.
It looks like it's the Ramah in Hilchos Mensa.
That what is around?
Say, Ein Loma Ashrei, Shekodem and Ele Kajesh Menyan Debate Knesses. Kaddish Yemru Alav HaKaddish Lifnei Tzodas Mensa.
Okay, but let's say you didn't have a minyan and you said Ashrei. What do you do?
The Berurah says you should say Mizmor Echad and then the Kaddish.
So that's like the Magen Avram, okay? The Pri Megadim has a chidush here that the Magen Avram would be moideh that by Psukei de Zimra, if you could say Kaddish even though there was not a minyan at the time of Psukei de Zimra. I guess that's the Mishnah Berurah in Sivkat and Tes and Siman Nun Daled, where he quoted the Magen Avram in the context of Yishtabach, and he didn't say the Magen Avram agrees there, you don't need the minyan at the time of the saying of the Psukim. Okay, Sivkat and Gimel, Zecharim, La'afuke Noshim, va'avadim, uketanim. That excludes women, slaves, ketanim, v'adin tumtum, androgynous, v'chatzi eved, v'chatzi ben chayran, eno mitzdaref. Gedoylem, ayin pri chodesh siman samachtesh shakara error al makosh nagin shakatan omer Kaddish. Okay, we'll see that more tomorrow. Bottom line is, just to get straight, it seems like the Taz holds that you don't need a minyan for the psukim, for the Kaddish it's good enough. The Magen Avram holds you do need a minyan for the Amiras psukim. The Berurah seems to quote this Magen Avram in Siman Nun Daled. He quotes it here in Siman Nun Hey. He quotes the Shita later on by Slichos in Siman Tav Kuf Pei Aleph. And the Pri Megadim has some kind of hachra that the Magen Avram would be moida legabe psukei de Zimra and legabe arvis. So in other words, right, earlier on the Mishnah Berurah says something also very interesting, that the Sheikh Tzibur says if the Sheikh Tzibur interrupts after Yishtabach, he has to say Miksas Psukim and say Kaddish. That's a different thing. That Kaddish has to be going on Psukim. And if he doesn't say Psukim, he just says Baruch Hu. Okay, Rabbi said we'll hold it over here, okay? Hatzlacha.
Saif Shaila, someone needs to see him in shul, and I'm a second, then says a Kaddish. Does he have